So that is pretty much the most important slide of the day, okay? If you just write that down, we can all go and have a picnic in the park for the rest of the day, okay? That, for me, is the place to start with this stuff. And it's really easy. If you see, it looks like a Mercedes sign, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, okay? It is so ridiculously simple that this doesn't fit every dog. However, this is the place to start every dog. Puppy, oldie, pregnant bitch, you name it. Toy, giant, that's the place to start, okay? I like rules of thumb, okay? They always get broken, but it gives you a place to start because, as somebody was saying somewhere, there's so much information, they're kind of lost in all that information. So for me, rules of thumb is great because it gives you somewhere to orientate yourself. So 1/3 meat. Meat is muscle tissue, okay? And it's only part, you'll notice it's only part of the body. I've also got teeth, brains, skin, hair, cartilage, okay? Muscle is not raw, meaty bone diet. Bath diet is not about meat. It's about carcasses. It's not even about, it's about live animals becoming dead animals, becoming dinner, fundamentally, okay? So we're not feeding meat. We want to feed as natural and as broad as we can, because that's what you and I will ask you in a minute, that's what you and I and our dogs have evolved over millions and millions of years to eat, yeah? And this whole idea of refining products is always a very dangerous game, yeah? Refining flour gives you gluten allergies over several generations. To stop anyone getting too religious about raw food, and you will find that people get very religious about it, I always talk about a spectrum. There's a spectrum of nutrition, okay? So at the bottom end, you've got the cheapest, super cheap, I'm not going to mention too many names because we're on film. You've got super cheap economy foods down here, and they're usually dried, and they're kind of muesli based, very high cereal, and then you move up through the cheaper but more respectable dried or tins, and then you get into the more in kind of the center of the spectrum. For me, would be the Hills and the Purinas and the Burns and the Cannigans, and these, perhaps Cannigans might be a little bit higher, but I think that they're pretty interchangeable. In that middle region, about 3/4 of the way up that spectrum, you get into raw. And I have to say, badly done raw is actually worse than very good processed, okay? That's on record now, okay? I'm going to say bad raw is worse than very good processed food, okay? However, above it, and it's very easy to reach, is responsibly, intelligently produced, either produced by a producer or formulated at home, responsibly formulated at home. And then right at the top is you are raising the cattle and the sheep and the goats and what have you yourself, and you've got 30 acres of vegetables and berries and grazing, and you've got cattle who produce poos for the dogs and what have you. That's way at the top, and it's all organic, okay? So there's your range, and for me, any movement in that direction, any movement, going from the very worst economy to, okay, I'm not going to mention any names, okay, but any movement obviously is going to be a move in the right direction, okay? So there's no such thing as good, there's no such thing as bad. It's just like, it's all relative. One is better, in my opinion, than another. You don't want to eat one type of meal for the rest of your life, okay? If I said it to you, it is a ridiculous statement. Right, you're going to eat roast beef and Yorkshire puds for the rest of your life. Ridiculous statement. You're going to eat pot noodle. Even, you know, and roast beef and Yorkshire puds is pretty good. But any one meal for the rest of your life, which is unfortunately what are the conventional food people want us to do, yeah? Adult maintenance. I think that suggests that for the entire time that you're an adult, you are on one meal. So that means, in human terms, at 14, you go on to roast beef and Yorkshire puds until you're, what, 65? If you put it in those terms, it actually kind of, it makes it, for me, makes it a very obvious, okay? And roast beef and Yorkshire puds is actually fairly balanced. A bit too much salt, a bit too much refined white flour in the Yorkshires. But even so, it would be ridiculous to expect full health from a single meal for the rest of your life.